The Bible is a living word that reads us as we read it. It's a person, a voice that proves that time is not linear, as one sentence can confirm the past, guide the present, and declare the future. You are here. I am here. He is here. We are here right now. In the tomorrow of yesterday and in the yesterday of tomorrow, I thank you for joining today. So we're back. Thank you so much for joining once again. In our last episode, the Israelites are facing the Philistines. There are few Israelites, there are many Philistines. The Philistines did not allow for the Israelites to have blacksmith in their land, so the Israelites not only are outnumbered, but only Saul and his son Jonathan have swords and spears. The Israelites are facing an ongoing battle against the Philistines. They are outnumbered. They are without weapons. They are terrified. Saul got in his own way. He realized that his men were falling off. Some of them were hiding in rocks. Some of them were hiding in caves. Some of them ran altogether. Others decided to switch teams and join the Philistines. They were retreating. Saul was desperate. He was fearful. He was impatient. Prior to all of this happening, he was given very specific instructions from the Lord through Samuel. Samuel told him to wait for 7 days for Samuel to appear. And Samuel was going to offer sacrifices unto the Lord and then give further instruction. Saul did wait for 7 days, but he still was impatient. He waited, but he did not wait until Samuel appeared. He decided to take matters into his own hands. Despite the fact that he was not a priest, he had no authority because the Lord didn't give him the instruction. Saul was blatantly disobedient and he did what was convenient for him. He said, hey, I need to go ahead and check this box. I need to make sure that the people are good. I want to make sure that they feel like we did everything in order. So I'm going to consult the Lord. I'm going to do the things that I need to do in order to make that happen. So I will just do it myself. Saul soon learned that that was a very costly decision. Samuel appeared and he let Saul know that he was out of order because he did not obey the command of the Lord to wait for Samuel, because through the Lord, Samuel was given the authority to offer the sacrifice. Samuel dropped this weighty news on the lap of Saul and let him know, hey, your decision cost you. The Lord is giving your kingdom to someone else, someone who's actually after his heart and not only after his practices. Afterwards, Samuel dropped the mic and went on about his business. Saul was left with 600 of his men to figure it out. Amongst them was actually a priest, Ahijah. Ahijah had the authority to offer burnt sacrifices because he was of the lineage of the Levites. He was a priest. However, it wasn't only about the fact that Saul was not a priest or was not from the lineage of the Levites that made him wrong. He was wrong because he did not obey the direct command of the Lord to wait until Saul made those offerings and then gave further instruction. Saul, 600 men, amongst them Ahijah, they're strategizing, trying to devise a plan of attack against the Philistines. Saul placed all of his men under an oath, and he said, anyone who eats before evening, before I have full revenge on my enemy, will be cursed. So not only did he have very few men, but he also said that they would be cursed if they ate anything before evening. While Saul is just pulling everything he can think of out of a hat, Jonathan decided to sneak off. So he doesn't know what's going on. He pulled his armor bearer. He said, yo, man, come on. I got a plan. Let's go over here to the Philistine outpost. The armor bearer was like, bet, man, let's go. No one even realized that Jonathan and his armor bearer had snuck off. And Jonathan didn't even tell his pops what was going on. Now, in order to reach the Philistine outpost, Jonathan and his armor bearer had to go down two rocky cliffs. One of them was named Slippery, and the other one was named Thorny. That wasn't their actual names, but that's the meaning of their names. Slippery and thorny. That should tell you something about the conditions that Jonathan and his armor bearer were dealing with. Once they made it down the rocky cliffs, Jonathan told his armor bearer, let's go over there to those no good, good for nothing worshipers of anything and everything. And maybe, just maybe, the Lord will help us. Think about it. Nothing can hinder the Lord. And if he wants to, he can win a battle with a whole lot of warriors or with just a few. So what's stopping us? The armor bearer was like, yo, man, I'm here. Whatever you say, I'm down. Jonathan said, bet, here's the plan. We're going to cross over and we're going to let them see us. If they say, stay where you are or we'll kill you, we not going to go further. We just going to stay put. But if they say, come on up here, that's going to be a sign that the Lord is with us and will help us defeat them. The Philistines saw Jonathan and the armor bearer, and they said, oh, check it out. Looks like the Israelites are crawling out their little holes. Come on up here, man. I got a little something for you. I imagine that Jonathan looked over at his armor bearer and winked at him. Then he said, come on, man, let's go up there. Climb right behind me. Little side note, I'm not sure if you know this about an armor bearer, but an armor bearer typically would go before the warrior that they were bearing arms for. It was part of their job description. They would carry the additional weapons. We already talked about their lack of weaponry, but they also would bear arms. They would hold the armor. They would stand before the warrior and they would protect him. They also were additional muscles. So they would off anybody that came around, or they would finish the job that the warrior started, so to speak. But here we see that Jonathan positioned himself in front of his armor bearer because he really believed what he said when he said, nothing can hinder the Lord. He told his armor to stand behind him because he knew that God was before him. It says a lot about his faith and it says a lot about his leadership. Jonathan and his armor bearer climbed up and they offed about 20 Philistines. They were scattered around an acre and a half of land. Panic broke out in the Philistine camp, in the Philistine army, in the outposts, in the land, the raiders. Everybody was nervous. And in addition to that, in a very timely fashion, there was an earthquake. Come through, Lord. The lookouts in Saul's camp are watching the Philistines panic. They're running in all of these different directions. And the lookouts are like, something's happening. Saul said, call the roll. Who's missing? They called the roll, they went to look, and they saw that Jonathan and his armor bearer weren't there. Saul, I imagine, is thinking to himself, there he is getting into stuff again. Saul then calls for Ahijah, the priest. He wanted to consult the Lord, but when he realized that the confusion in the Philistine camp grew louder, he told the priest, never mind, man, we don't have to consult the Lord. Let's just roll out. He mobilized the army. The Israelites started coming out of their hiding places so that they could join the fight against the Philistines. There was such confusion in the camp that the Philistines were even offing one another. Even the Israelites that switched over to Team Philly switched back, and the Philistines were just running away. The Lord was with the Israelites, and he saved them. Though the battle continued, they had great victory. Keep in mind, the men are exhausted. They're weak. They're tired. They've been fighting all day, and they hadn't eaten anything. By this time, Jonathan and his armor bearer had joined the Israelite army again. And as they were chasing after the Philistines, Jonathan saw a honeycomb on the forest floor. He stuck his stick into the honeycomb and pulled out some honey and ate of it. One of the men saw Jonathan eat honey from the honeycomb and he said, ooh, your pops made us swear, man. He said we couldn't eat anything today or we'll be cursed. Keep in mind, Jonathan was nowhere to be found. Jonathan had already snuck off with his armor bearer while Saul was devising this plan and making his men swear to this condition. Jonathan was like, are you serious? No disrespect, man, but that was dumb. We would have been in a much better condition to fight against these Philistines if he wouldn't have done something as stupid as that. Nonetheless, The Israelites kept fighting against the Philistines. And when the evening came and the oath terms ended, the Israelites plundered the Philistines. They were starving. They were so weak. They were slaying the animals of the plunder and just eating it with the blood still in it. Saul was like, nah, don't do that. That's sinful, man. Let's do this proper. Bring the animals to me. I'll drain the blood from it. We'll offer it up the right way. But we're not going to sin against the Lord by eating the blood of this meat. So the Israelite men were patient enough to let the blood be drained from the meat, and then they ate. Their stomachs were filled. They were feeling much better. Saul got a little taste of victory and was eager to move on. He's like, y'all, let's go. Let's keep on. Let's chase them throughout the night. The priest was like, hold up. I know you excited and everything, but let's consult the Lord, man. Let's ask God first. Saul wasn't opposed. He's like, all right, let's do it your way then. He asked the Lord, should we go after the Philistines? And if we do, will you help us defeat them? Crickets were chirping. He got no answer from the Lord. Saul was like, something's wrong. There must be sin in the camp. Whose sin? I vow by the name of the Lord that whoever did it will die. I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's my own son. Jonathan confessed. He's like, listen, Pops, I didn't know. I had already snuck off. I didn't know that you made your men swear an oath not to eat anything. But while we were in the forest, I saw this honeycomb on the forest floor, and I had a bit of honey. Super sweet, tasted good, great quality. But I didn't know that was a violation of an oath because I didn't know the oath existed. Saul told his son, he said, listen, son, you got to die, man. Jonathan said, whoa, Pops, it was just a bit of honey. You gonna let me die over that? And Saul was like, yup, I sure am. The people had enough. They stepped in Jonathan's defense and they're like, listen, enough is enough. No disrespect to you, King Saul, but he's the one that led the Israelites into victory today. God was with him and helped him to do this great deed. If you want to kill him, you got to get through us first. It's not going to happen. The people stepped up, and it was because of them that Jonathan's life was spared. Saul just gave up. He realized he was outnumbered, and the Philistines were able to go on about their business. So once Saul got a really good grasp on the kingdom, on the throne, he was kind of learning his footing. He started fighting all of his enemies. He went against the Moabites, the Ammonites, the Edomites, the Amalekites, and he was winning. The Lord was allowing him to have victory after victory after victory. His entire lifetime, he had beef with the Philistines. Anytime he recognized a strong man that was brave, he drafted him to be a part of his army. Things started looking up for Saul. He was taking home a lot of wins on behalf of the Israelites. He had a strong army. He was recruiting new talent. It turned out that Saul's biggest enemy wasn't the Philistines. It wasn't the Moabites, the Ammonites, Amalekites, any of those. His biggest enemy was actually himself. We'll learn more about that in future episodes if the Lord blesses me to record another one. Thank you so much for your time and your support. I love you. I am so grateful for you. I look forward to chatting with you again. Until then, bye for now.